So again, welcome to the Master of Professional Communication information session. Today we have about 1 hour of information and questions, and we're gonna go over a few things with you guys and just hopefully give you as much information as we can about the program. Before we get started, I just want to go over the land acknowledgement. We are located in Toronto, and so I want to recognize sort of the land that we inhabit, where we live. And I'm just going to read you the Toronto Metropolitan University land acknowledgement. But I would also encourage you to do some research and learn a little bit about the land where you live, in whatever part of the world that may be, or part of Canada, whatever the case. Make sure you do some research, figure out what's happening there, the history. Always good to recognize and acknowledge the land. So I'm going to read this one for you guys here. Toronto is in the dish with one spoon territory. The dish with one spoon is a treaty between the Anishinaabe, Mississaugas, Haudenosaunee, and that bound them to share the territory and protect the land. Subsequent indigenous nations and peoples, Europeans, and all newcomers have been invited into this treaty in the spirit of peace, friendship, and respect. All right, so again, and with that spirit of, again, peace, friendship, and respect, we'd like to welcome you, and also make sure that for everybody is welcome into an information session, and of course into the program. Hopefully we'll see you at some point in the next fall. So let's move on. So I'm going to go a little bit over the agenda. Going to be a quick introductions of who's joining us today, as well, followed by a program overview and sort of explain you what the program is all about, curriculum, and those kinds of things, more the academic side. And then we're going to switch over into the admissions and funding side of things, so you understand a little bit of the process, and obviously how to finance your studies as well, and the opportunities that the university offers. With that, I just want to quickly introduce who's here. We have Elaine Nee, which is one of our graduate program administrators, and she's going to be in the back end answering questions in the chat. So feel free at any point in time, if you have a question, just to throw it in the chat, and we'll try to answer them as we go through it, as we go through the presentation. Additionally, I want to remind you guys, if you're comfortable, feel free to turn your cameras on. It's always nice to be able to see who you're talking to and recognize, faces and things like that. If you keep your microphones muted, that'd be great, because we wouldn't talk over each other. But cameras are always welcome, and it's great to see faces. So that's fantastic. So thank you, Bradley. I can see you. There we go. Excellent. All right. So then I also want to introduce you to the graduate program director. Siwa Chen is joining us, and he's going to take over from here and introduce the Master of Professional Communication program. Siwa, floor is all yours.
Yeah, welcome. And I want to begin. So I'm going, in the next 15 minutes or so, I want to give you a quick overview of our program. And so here is some of the general data. So we are the first, professional communication graduate program in Canada, founded back in 2010. And we have actually the number should be updated. Now we have over 300 alumni. So on average, we admit 25 students per year. And so the general structure is a 1-year full-time program. And so you do need to spend 3 full semesters going through finishing the program process, right? So which includes 4 required courses, 3 electives, and 150 hours of internship, plus, in the 3rd semester, you are going to do an intensive research activity, what we call master's research paper. And at the end of the 3rd semester, you are going to conclude your whole degree with a presentation. Yeah, next slide. Yeah, so one of the questions we have received over the years is people just curious, right? So what is professional communication, or how does your degree different from other available communication graduate degree, right? So here I'm quoting one of the definitions from the textbook talking about professional communication. So we consider it, so basically for those of us who teach in the discipline, we consider ProCom as an umbrella term covering approaches within language, linguistic, and communication studies where research in professional settings take place, right? So we pay attention to, how do communication practice in different settings. So for example, in health setting, in legal setting, in the most common sense, like in the social media world, in the marketing setting, or in the political setting, and so on and so forth. So there are 3 meta functions, and these are the 3 broad areas that many of our graduates have been working on, right? So providing consultancy, or, engage in some kind of advocacy role, as well as, engage in some kind of, role as campaign managers, right? So we have graduates working in both for-profit and non-profit sectors, and many of them getting jobs related to either communication coordinator or, let's say, social media content creator, or, campaign manager. So similar roles like that. Okay, next slide. So, so just give you a general sense, right? These are the kind of key terms, like if you are finding them, for example, on LinkedIn job posts, right? So these are the general kind of jobs related to the field of professional communication, right? So the most common one is public relations or media relations, as well as, so on the right side, we increasingly have more people working in the field of public affairs, policy development, as well as, in the general kind of field of social media, either, managing certain accounts or, leading public campaigns in different capacities. Yeah, next slide. We admit students from a variety of backgrounds. So we not only admit a student directly from, if you have a communication background, but we also admit students, as shown here, from a variety of humanity and social science backgrounds, right? So ranging from business to, arts. And also I want to mention is that we also admit students, we admit directly from if you just about to finish your undergrad degree, but if you are going to have years of professional experience. So we have admitted students from, both pools over the years. Yeah, next one. So about a couple of features. So it's a 1 year full-time master degree. We don't offer a part-time option. So we do value kind of say this requires kind of a 1 year full-time commitment for this degree. And we are proud to be a degree that balance of theory and practice. Not only you are going to learn more advanced theories concerning professional communication, which train you at a higher level, but also, with the integrated internship, as well as for our master research project, we are focusing a lot on, for people doing applied end of research. So it's a really good balance of theory and practice, right? And as I mentioned, so I think the major attraction of the program is the internship experience, as well as that combined with, our location, right? We're in central Toronto. So many of our alumni, if you search Master of Professional Communication, Toronto Metropolitan University in LinkedIn, you can see some of the profile of our alumni. You can see many of them ends up, working in the Greater Toronto area. So we are building over the 10 years a very strong alumni networks. So I will consider that as one of the key advantages of the program. Yeah. So, and then, you are also going to get you are going to get some of the general overview training in kind of advanced procom, skills, for example, especially in terms of design, like that's one of the required component of this degree, which took place in the fall. And, even as a applied professional degree, we still have a research component, which to be done in semester 3, right? That's the final point, right? About, master research project and the presentation. Next slide. So where do our alumni work, right? So here, just like some of the areas that we're, let's say, the career development prospect of the degree, right? So many of our graduates, like I said, right, working in communication related roles across these kind of fields, right, ranging from technology incubators to government sectors, as well as for telecoms. And also increasingly, we have lots of people end up, working for non-profits and startups. Yeah, so just give you a general sense of example. So we are proud that, our job placement is very diversified. So if you search in LinkedIn, we have, people graduate working in all kinds of different capacities. Next slide. Yeah, so this just give you a very quick sense, right? So if you are get admitted to the program, what will be the overall program experience? So these are, the kind of courses you're taking in the fall semester. So the fall semester will focusing more on the theoretical side, right? You are going to take an advanced level professional communication course on professional communication theory, history, and practice. You are taking a research master's course, which you are going to develop initial ideas for the, master research paper you are going to do in the summer. And you are going to, as I mentioned, you are going to receive the training in visual communication and design. So you are learning Adobe Creative Cloud, but also we are going to learning some of the design thinking behind designing effective, visual communication works. And you are also going to take one credit elective course. So for example, this semester we have courses in strategic media relation. We have a course of communication in indigenous context. So that's some of the sample courses you can take. And one more thing I want to mention is we are at the creative school now. We are also offering a lot of what we call open elective, which means that for the elective course, you're not only taking courses from the program. You can take courses, for example, offered by the Master of Journalism program, or you can take courses from the design Master of Design programs. So as long as they are in the open elective categories, you can take those kind of courses. So that kind of elective course will be the opportunities for you to design your kind of specialty. Next slide. So in the winter semester, right? In the winter semester, you are going to do the internship, which I'm going to talk a little bit more in the next slide. And you are going to take a course called Virtual Organization. That's a course focusing on organizational communication and how the shift toward this kind of increasingly virtual working online environment, right, has changed the organizational communication. And along with the first semester, you are taking 2 additional elective courses. And then finally, for the summer, so the summer will be dedicated to the major research paper, right, MRP, as well as at the end of the summer, you are complete your degree with we will have a 1-day presentation day event where all students in the cohort will present their research. It's an open event, right? So we do regularly have students bring their family members to these kind of events. Okay, next slide. Yeah. So briefly talking about the internship. So this entire experience of the internship starting actually in the fall. So in the fall, we'll offer a series of workshops, and our internship coordinator will organize an internship fair. So kind of connecting some of the students with potential employers. So we have an internal job board posting available part-time internship opportunities. So just to clarify, the internship is a part-time internship. So usually during the winter term, all your graduate course will be scheduled on Thursday and Friday, so that for you Monday to Wednesday, you can use that time to complete your internship requirement. Yeah. So and then you receive a course credit for complete this internship, and ideally, so I think most of the internship we have students have completed so far, you will receive kind of salary in some formats. Some position will offer an hourly rate. There are others offer a stipend, but also for a smaller organization, for example, we have students end up intern with nonprofit organizations. They negotiated and ends up with paying an honorarium. So this is really based. So this is a process that with the facilitation of the internship coordinator, you are going to negotiate with the employer. Okay, next slide. So very briefly, right? So basically, the major research paper is not a thesis, so it's a shorter form of writing, as well as it does not require original research. Basically, it's a research project, kind of showcase your analytical skills, showcasing the theories you have learned from all the pro-com courses, as well as it's an opportunities for you to develop a project that you will be proud of. You will be evaluated by, like I said here, so will be evaluated by a supervisor and a second reader. So usually throughout the fall, we are going to run events to match you with supervisors and second readers. So we require students not only deliver an oral presentation, but also make an infographic or make a poster to showcase their project. So we host that in this kind of project websites, and also this could be considered as a portfolio for yourself. Like when you are seeking for future jobs after you finish the degree, you can always point your employers to this website to see this is a very brief kind of synthesis of what I completed as my research component for my MPC degree. Also, seeing that website, I think some of the research done there can give you a sense of the possibilities of the different research that students have completed in the degree over the past few years. Next slide. Yeah, so I already shared the link to you, right? So the first one was called RShare. So that's kind of posted in our library, which is the digital depository. So all students completing the project. So if they choose to publish their results, their thesis, their kind of MRP will be hosted by the TMU library. So you can kind of search professional communication there to find some of the sample writings. If you want to get yourself more familiar with potential topic, has been done there. And if you go to, let's say, the professional communication school page, you go to people, you go to graduate faculty, you can check, all the graduate faculty profiles. So we do prefer when students submit their application that, in the letter of intent, if they can name a few potential faculties who they are interested to work with. So that helps us, helps the admission committee to better evaluate your fit with the, program. So we don't have restriction for the potential topics. So I'm listed some of the broader kind of category labels people has been writing for their MRP, right? So health communication, political communication, workplace communication, social media, advertising, public relations. So for instance, for the passing cohort, we have students examining, what are the benefits and challenges caused by remote work during the pandemic, like how that influenced organizational culture. So we have students analyzing, potential cultural biases embedded in Android advertisements from Google and Samsung. We have students analyzing about, the marketing effectiveness of Netflix, their streaming, like how do they advertise the videos that are going to streaming, and how that different from traditional film marketing. Yeah, and in terms of length, right? So like I said here, the length of previous MRP, they range from 9,000 to 12,000 words. So it's a more in the form of a more kind of significant kind of longer research paper, but not as long as a typical, MA thesis. Okay, next slide. So basically that's the page I think Daniel already posted. So the central place you are going to find the project information is tmu.ca procom/graduate. So all of the relevant program information could be found there. I shared with you the posters link. You can find the posters, and so there are two primary email contacts. One is me, so that is mostly for academic matters. And for admission matters, you are going to email the mpc@torontomu.ca. That's where you're talking more about the general admission process. Next slide. So admission and finding opportunities. So I'm going to begin talking about the admission and our internal findings, and then I'm going to pass this to Daniel, talking about some of the university-wide findings opportunities. Next slide. Okay. So Yale School of Graduate Study, we are a program regulated by Yale School, by SGS, so all the admissions will go through them. So here is the general information. You go to tmu.ca graduate, and for general graduation inquiries, you go to gradhelp@tmu.ca. And for program information inquiries, I mentioned this email, right? You go to mpc.tmu.ca. Next slide. Okay, So Daniel, if you want to go over some of this, you are probably more familiar than me for this process.
That's good. I'll take over for a little bit, and then I'll pass it back again with the other funding opportunities. In terms of admissions, like Siva said, everything happens through the Graduate Studies website, the previous link in there. And basically, a couple of things to note is the application process is a two-step process. So you have to complete basically an application first to the entire university's application center, or OUAC, and that is just basically letting the university know that you want to come and be part of the program. That's the first step. That's where you'll enter your information, your background, academic background, some details. You have to enter any previous degrees that you've taken before, undergraduate or maybe another master's, things like that. You have to enter the names of possible supervisors that you may want to work with in the program. These ones are not necessarily binding. It's just a good option for us for the review committee to know who you're interested in working with. And then there's a $110 fee, which is called the standard fee for the application for the programs. Then what's going to happen from there is they're going to send the information to graduate admissions. Graduate admissions will then send it back will review their application, and they'll send an email back to you guys letting you know how to upload your documents, things like your CV, your statement of interest, your portfolio, things like that happen on the second step. Now, at the same time that you get that email from from the university, from us. Your referees, so the people doing your letters of recommendation, will also get an email. So always make sure to follow up with them that they received the email. It didn't go into the spam box or something like that, because they will need to go online and enter the information about the letter of recommendation, which is a couple of questions, your name, your information, and then you can either write the letter right on the browser, or they can upload a PDF if they have it already typed up. So, but again, the important thing for you guys as applicants is that you make sure you follow up with them, because if we don't get their letters of recommendation, we can't actually review the application, and it gets stuck sort of in the system in between. So make sure you follow up with them. But that's basically the two main steps for applying. For domestic applications, the first consideration deadline is January 19th, and this is pretty much for all domestic applicants. Try to get your application by this date, or as close or earlier if you can. The idea is after this date, we start reviewing applications. So if you apply a little bit later, the program might still be open and accepting applications, depending on how many we receive by this date. But anybody who applies before that, January 19th, they'll have a preference in terms of, they have a better chance just because they're the first round of offers that we send out and stuff like that, right? So make sure that you apply by then. And I just noticed the slide is January 19, 2024, not 23. Little typo there. For international students, the preferred deadline is actually a little earlier, December 10th in 2023. And the reason for that is because study permits and visas take a lot of time to process. So we want to make sure that you guys get yours on time. And so ideally, if you can, any international students, please submit your applications around December 10th. We will continue to accept them all the way to January 19th, but December 10th is ideal because it gives us more time to process, get everything ready, and try to give results sooner rather than later. In terms of a timeline, the program usually reviews things after January 19th, and sometime in March, mid to late March, we'll start sending the first round of offers. So if we can, we'll do it earlier, but we aim at to have them sent out in late March, and then it's on an ongoing basis all the way through until the program is full. And so depending on when that happens, that might be in May, June, July, and then that's when we officially close all admissions. For international students, just as a quick note on that, generally speaking, again, because of study permits and visas, we generally close international applications no later than March 15th. So between the January 19th and March 15th, that's kind of like the period in which the program looks at how many applications we receive and we close. So again, very important for you guys to apply. If you can by December, then you guarantee you get reviewed. If you wait until later, we can't really guarantee it because it depends on the number of applications that you guys received. All right, that we received, sorry. I'm gonna go through a couple of the admission requirements, and maybe I'll ask Sibo to jump in here and there if he needs to add a couple examples, but these are sort of the requirements for the program. The standard academics will be the 4-year honors bachelor's degree with a GPA of 3 out of 4.3 or a B equivalent. This is for, that's the TMU GPA scale, but obviously admissions will review any other GPA scales based on the university that you come from. If it's an international application or a different university in Ontario, admissions will do the conversion for that, and will review that once you submit your application. The next step will be a letter of intent, which is just a short statement, about 500 words, and basically tell us as much as you can about you and why you want to be part of the program. Let us know what you want to work on. Let us know why, what's interesting about professional communication, and what areas you want to explore. Let us know what your qualifications, your background, your experience, anything that will give the admissions committee an idea of who you are and why you belong here. Okay. We also want to know all of that because we want to make sure we have the ability to support you and to help you in your project and to achieve that goal. All right. See, would you want to add anything in there?
Yeah, I want to jump in quick here. So, like I mentioned, another thing we are interested in is that we encourage every applicant to take a quick look at our faculties, the graduate faculties list, get a sense of what our research expertise are, and thinking about what you are interested in, working for your major research paper, and who can be your potential supervisors. So that information will be very, very helpful. So that when we are reviewing your file, we get a general sense about whether your research interest could be adequately supported better program. And also, basically in the letter of intent, you can also very briefly summarize your academic capacity and past achievements and why that's a good fit with the program, so to speak. That's also something, we pay special attention to during, review those letters. I will finish talking all of them. So for the resume, right? So like I said here, right? So highlight your previous study experiences, your past achievements, and basically show you as a good candidate to the program. And we also want you to highlight your general, what we call as technical capacities, but we understand that broadly, right? So you can consider as good analytical writing skills could be part of your technical capacities, right? So let's say you don't need to worry too much. Let's say you say that, I don't list out all of the computer languages I know. It's okay. But basically what you consider as your key technical strengths, right? Broadly speaking, and how that provides you a good fit with the program. We are a kind of social science program, so that besides general technical capacity like Adobe, we also some of the general more soft skills in social science research. So for example, critical reading, academic writing, professional writing, analytical thinking, those kind of skills is also what we are looking for during the admission process when we are seeking the evidence from reading both your letter of intent as well as your resume. So for letter of recommendation, we prefer academic letter. Essentially means, letter written by your previous profs or instructors in your courses who can comment on your academic performance and who can make the assessment of whether you are a good fit for this graduate program. But also, we understand, especially for many of our applicants from more kind of professional background, we also accept the letters, one of them written by somebody know you on professional capacity. Somebody can comment on your overall job performance, can comment on let's say your career development over the past few years. So that would work as well. So portfolio is where we get lots of questions. So I want to spend a little bit more time clarifying it, right? So we want 2 examples of your written communication, because this program, many of the program's courses, as well as the final master research paper, requires strong writing skills. So we just want to make sure that, for people entering the program, it's a 1-year intensive program, right? So we don't have a lot of kind of rooms for people to develop their writing skills. We just want to make sure that you already possess strong skills from the beginning. So you could submit either 2 scholarly pieces, for example, papers you submitted for previous courses, or you can choose to submit 1 academic piece, like a course paper, and 1 professional piece, for example, press release or blog post you wrote for the company you work for. Or what we require is, let's say, if you submit a longer professional piece, for example, we have the cases where people have been contributing for a huge press release of the annual report of a corporation. For those kind of larger documents, we require you add a cover page to the document to specify your contribution to the documents or what kind of skills you want the review committee to pay attention to when review this kind of documents. And actually, my recommendation is for both of the samples you upload, like for example for the course paper, you adding a cover page explaining how it demonstrates what kind of your skills and how you pick it for this application, right? Just like basically providing certain kind of contextualization for the review committee members. So that will facilitate our review process. Okay, next slide. So funding, let's talk about funding. So there are 2 kinds of funding provided to fund your graduate study, right? So I'm going to talk about the internal ones. So for every student admitted, you will receive a TM graduate fellowship ranging between $2,000 to $6,000. So that amount is automatically determined when you are receiving the offer letter. So you don't need to worry about that. So we are going to rank our applicants, right? Then varying degrees, you are going to receive this fellowship. Another internal grant you are going to receive is GA-ship, working as a graduate assistant. So the TMU careers has more of those rules. So we are a very large school, so we offer a lot of undergraduate courses. So we have a pretty good record of recruiting our MPC students as graduate assistants throughout the year. So most likely, like you are able to at least work one time as graduate assistant throughout the program, at least one. But we have many students end up, working both in the fall and the winter semester as graduate assistants. So that's a kind of, another kind of income to supplement to support your study. So Daniel, do you want to talk about the next two points?
Yes, of course. So there's like Siwo mentioned, the university sort of divides funding into sort of admissions funding, which is sort of what Siwo just mentioned. So that's both the TMGF, the Toronto Metropolitan Graduate Fellowship, and the Toronto Metropolitan Graduate Development Award. Those don't require any application. Another option, another award in there in that category of admissions is the Ontario Graduate funding, or Ontario Graduate Fellowship. Is a $12,000 award for the year. And basically, it's again based on your admissions application. The committee will review sort of like one of the top candidates and offer that scholarship for them. And then we have on top of that some program awards as well that will go. These are more once you're actually a student, they will review some of the MRP major research project and give the award to the highest scored MRPs, or anyway, major research projects, sorry. So these are kind of like the one portion. Now we also have external awards, which are mentioned now. And so these are two of the bigger ones that you're probably going to see. The first one is the Ontario Graduate Scholarship, or GS, / there's also the Toronto Met Graduate Scholarship, TMGS. These ones are $15,000 for a 1-year award. They're both for domestic and international applicants, so you can submit your application. This one's the requirements for this is pretty straightforward. Is A- GPA average on the last 2 completed years of study. So basically, once you submit your application, the program administrators and my team will sort of look at the applications. We'll check all the GPA calculations and do the conversions if your GPA is from a different scale, and then notify anybody who's eligible sometime in February or March, just so that you have to submit an application form, and then from there it goes to a competition in our faculty, and then into the university, and then from there, we get to know how many awards. Usually around May or June, we get notified of the recipients of those awards. We're usually pretty lucky. We get 1 or 2 or 3 awards of those in the program. So when considering something about 20 to 25 students, it's a pretty good percentage. So again, we'll let you guys know once when those are available. The other one I want to mention is the Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council Canada Graduate Scholarship, or the SHIRC Scholarship for short. This one is for domestic applicants only. It is an external award, so the university doesn't really have control over the requirements and things like that, but we want to mention it because the deadline's coming up December 1st. So if in your previous degree you've had a similar requirement, A- GPA average in the last 2 completed years of study, you should take a look at the website and take a look at the requirements and submit an application. It's about $17,000 scholarships. It's a pretty good amount, and again, we've also received some applicants, I guess, who have received the scholarship, and so I highly encourage you to take a look at that. I know the deadline's coming up fairly soon, so I gotta make sure that you apply if you can. Now, on top of that, we have other sources of funding, and these are sort of more general graduate studies scholarships, which you can find over on the website on your screen, torontomu.ca/graduate/ future-students/financing-your-studies, which is basically there you're going to find links to a big list of scholarships that the graduate department has put together, and those ones is a combination of maybe donors send money to the university to provide funding, it's external companies, is completely external institutions that just fund people depending on their background, their research, their academic pursuits, those kinds of things. So you as the applicant are the best person to sort of take a look at the list, go over it, and figure out which is the best scholarship, or which one you meet the requirements for, and then submit your application. So make sure to take a look in there and review those scholarships. And then on top of that, like Siwo mentioned before, the program guarantees some GA ships and TA ships, but there's also other positions outside of that that are open for any student, and you can apply as a master student. So those will be research assistantships, there's career boost positions, and there's also TA-ships or teaching assistantships, sorry, that you can actually apply as well if it's something you need a little more funding, a little other ways to fund your studies. And again, all other information will be on that link, and will be if you have any questions about that kind of stuff, we'll answer them during the Q&A session in a couple of minutes. Okay, so with that, I think we can jump into the Q&A portion of the presentation. I'm gonna stop sharing, and then we can answer your questions. Oops. There we go.
Yeah. Okay. I saw there's a question. So total credit hours. So it's like 1 hour, one credit per. So in terms of total, so I think the way we calculate credit hours is slightly different at TMU, right, Daniel? Like 1 hour,
Yeah,
one
so
credit. Yeah. You go ahead.
it's a slightly different process. I think the easiest way to understand the curriculum in our program is you basically count the number of courses. That'll make a little more sense. Most of our courses are 3 hours long, although there's a few that, depending on how he's taught, sometimes extends a little bit longer than that. So that's why it's not just the equivalent of like 3 hours equals 1 credit. Sometimes one course will be 3 hours, but it's 2 credits, or sometimes a course will be 6 hours, but it's 1 credit. So the easiest way to understand it is if you look at on the website, and I'll post the link again in a second, you basically have a total of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 required courses, sorry. And then you have 3 electives that you have to complete. So a total of 9 courses overall.
7 actually, 7 courses. But the other thing you
the
counted there
correct.
is, yeah, it's one is internship. Internship was counted as 1 credit, but internship requires at least 150 hours.
Yeah,
working,
and that's why
right?
the credit transition is not the same, right? But yeah, so that's the easy way to understand just how many you have to complete. And again, I'll post the link on the chat here so you guys have it, and you can take a quick look in there as well. In there, you also sort of see the breakdown as well of like how many usually happens in the fall, how many happens in the winter, how many happen in the spring, summer, which is mostly the major research paper, production and finishing and presentation as well.
Yeah. So there are other questions, but Daniel, you can answer them.
Yeah. So the second question.
I can see the acceptance rate. So it ranges around, I would say, depends on how many people apply, but we aim for 25. So I would say it's range between 25% each, because generally speaking, on average, we receive around 100 applicants. So yeah, so it's like sometimes it's on the lower end, sometimes it's on the higher end, right? Around there, around 25%. I don't know about application fee waiver. So Daniel, do you know about that?
Unfortunately, there's no application fee waiver because you're not paying the university. You're paying sort of like the Ontario University's application center, so they're a completely separate entity. So I don't know of any waiver, at least not directly through us anyway. So unfortunately, there's not a lot we can do on that respect.
Yeah. So Bradley mentioned in the QA, say there are a list of institutions offer this internship to graduate students in the program we can look at. So Daniel, do you have the link of the creative internship? So we have essentially the creative school, we have an internship office, like which handles all the internship opportunities. So the organizations fluctuates a lot. And so Daniel, do you have that link you can share?
Just give me 1 second, I'm just gonna put it up there.
Yeah. So it varies basically from year to year. So basically the internship office just handle not only our internship, but we have other programs at both undergraduate and graduate level have required internship, right? So basically they're just going to actively building connections with all possible partners. And then, when opportunities are available, it's just being posted in our internal job posting board.
And that's one sort of area. There's a whole website dedicated to it, so you can take a look and sort of take a look around what's available and the process and so on. I think like Sibo mentioned, the sponsors vary every year depending on the students' goal and research and what they want to do. So, but hopefully this will give you an idea a little bit about that.
Okay, so Teresa asks, so can your portfolio be a combination of a creative work and a written work? So we require, like for the creative work, you still need to write a short piece, kind of further contextualize it, explain, basically the general background, how it's made, right? So what kind of skill is embedded into making that product. So yes, we can accept that, but basically the requirement for the creative piece that you still need to provide a kind of a text to explain it. So, for the committee is they know kind of how to assess it. Yeah.
Right. I'm just gonna answer a question that was in the other chat for a second here. I just want to get a bit more explanations. And the question was, English is my first language. Do I still need to prove of my proficiency? And if so, how would I accomplish this? And so basically the English proficiency, anybody who did not study a minimum of 2 years in a post-secondary institution, so like a university degree in Canada, they have to sort of provide proof of English proficiency. And that applies to pretty much everyone, even if, and this has happened, for example, if you're a Canadian citizen, but you went to study abroad somewhere, and then you come back and apply here, you still have to provide some sort of English proficiency. Now, there is basically a couple of ways. If you studied outside of Canada, but it was in an English speaking in an English speaking university, or your degree was studied in English, all you basically need is a letter from the university saying that you studied there for 2 or more years, and the courses were delivered in English, and you graduated, and you're good to go. And so basically that's what you would upload into the system to let us know that you've met that English proficiency qualification. If you did not study in English, then basically the English language requirements would be to do one of the tests, basically things like the TOEFL, the IELTS, the KLPTE, and so on. So basically you do a test. You need to book this as soon as you can, because it's depending how busy they are, it might be 2-3 months before you get the results. But basically you'll book the test, you do it, you get a certain grade, and I'll put the link on the chat there again. But basically once you meet that grade, you upload the test results, and that's the other way of meeting the requirements. So hopefully that gives you a little more of a context behind it. And if you need any more clarification, please let me know. And I think we have a question from Saima. Saima, go ahead, unmute yourself and ask.
Yeah, hi. I just need to know that I have done my undergrad from Canada, Canadian University, for about I had like about 8 plus 1, 9 semesters. Do I still need to provide any specific document to prove that English language certificate?
So if you are, if you see the option on your portal, so what's going to happen is when you submit your application, admissions will review your degrees and review sort of like the background. In many cases, they'll automatically recognize that it's a Canadian university and you've met the minimum 2 years requirement. If you meet that, then they'll usually sort of just mark it as a checkbox in a sense in the portal. If not, if you see it as an option when you're submitting your documents, well, 2 things you can do. One is just get the letter from the university saying, I study here for 2+ years, and upload that, or contact the program, and then we can double check with admissions why there's the need for that. In some cases, it has to do with the length of time. It also have to check depending on the program that you took. It has to be, again, a bachelor's degree equivalent, right? So they'll have to review the program. But yeah, in many cases, if it's more than 2 years, you should be fine just with a letter, or just let us know. Okay.
Yeah, it was like from 2018 till 2022.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds right. Again, admissions will have to review. I can't fully confirm it because I don't know the specifics of the degree.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Danielle,
Mhm.
I think there are 2 questions in the chat box that we haven't answered.
Oh, please go ahead and read them, and we'll do our best. Thank you.
Yeah, I think this one is more for Sibo. One question is the cover page different than the requirement mentioned in the application requirements page?
For the portfolio, yeah. So you add cover page for each of the sample of the writing sample you submit, right? So it's just like you give a little bit more kind of specifics. We are in the process updating the admission page. So yeah, I can confirm with you. So what you need is just, let's say, 1 page explaining what this is for, right? What's the general context? So for example, if you are submitting a course paper, you can just explain, this paper was originally submitted for this course. I selected one of my writing sample because it demonstrated this and that kind of skills, so that so it's very briefly. You don't need to write a super long page, just like providing, depends on you, right? Providing enough background information for us, so that when the members of the review committee see your profiles, they know that how to actually, from what perspective we are going to read and assess your writing sample.
Perfect.
Yeah, Sama. Yeah, this session is recorded. Yeah, it will be posted to our webpage later.
Thank you, Sibo. One more question for you. One student asked about there was a practicum and hands-on approach to the classes. What would be an example of the hands-on project for the classes?
Yeah, so I already mentioned that in the Q&A, but I can mention that. Okay, so for example, so most of the hands-on courses, right? So they will be project driven in the sense that it's not ends up, let's say, writing a course paper. Most of that will require you to do some kind of project, to design certain project. So your performance will be assessed by how the project is being done. So that's kind of the more kind of the hands-on part of things. The example I gave in the QA is the course on visual design, but also in the strategic media relation course, we are going to review real media kind of relation cases and make critique and analysis of them. And I know, for example, for the other course, like the crisis communication class, so a typical thing we do is we are going to invite real practitioners who handle corporate relations as guest lecturers, so that we want to make sure that the thing you learn from the class is kind of well connected with the real professional world. Yeah. So there's a more question about provide an estimate of the cost of attendance for the program. So Daniel, do you know that information?
Yeah. So basically I can only give you sort of the tuition rates that are posted right now for the current academic year. The tuition rates sort of change over they change over the spring summer, and they're determined sort of by the government. So give me 1 second. I'll post the link for you guys so you have it. For domestic students, we're looking at an average. This is for the whole year. It's around 16,000 to 17,000, depending on some ancillary fees and stuff like that. Now the way the tuition works is it's usually paid into 3 payments. So you'll pay a third of it in the fall, then another third in the winter, and a third in the spring, summer. So for the full amount, we'll split it into 3. And for international students, give me 1 sec here. And again, these are for this academic year. They will be updated later on in the spring, summer. For internationals, we're looking at between 26 and 27,000 again for the year. Okay, and again, I'll post the link for you guys so you have it. You're gonna take a look. Now, in terms of cost and funding, stuff like that, obviously make sure that always check out the scholarships and things like that, but also always a good idea to take a look at any possible student loans that you may be able to find. That may be from, if you're, for example, a domestic student, you can apply for OSAP, which is again the Ontario Student Loan Payment, the Ontario Student Loan Program. And you can apply for, sometimes some financial institutions will provide some lines of credit for students, stuff like that. So it's always good to take a look at all your options. And in this case, sometimes searching online is sometimes your best friend, because you'll find a lot of other opportunities there that will help you find some extra funding to cover the costs. And then also plan, if you can, depending on your schedule and obviously other things, and how busy you are with the program, you may also be able to find like a part-time positions during and throughout the academic year in the program. Yep. Do we have another question?
Yes,
Elaine?
Daniel,
Okay.
I think there's a second question from one same students. Are there any opportunities during a campus tour to view the space where students would be working?
So we don't next one over, we have an open house, and there's a Toronto Metropolitan University open house, and that's happening November 17th. That's I believe in a Friday, and it's around, so between I'm trying to remember here, between 12 and 3 and no, sorry, 12 and 3 o'clock or something around there. There's basically a general sort of campus tour, and so you're welcome to sort of come and sign up, come in, and there's going to be some people doing tours around the campus, sort of showing you different programs. The tour, you'll probably see a lot of undergraduate students on that particular day, but they are also part of the School of Professional Communication, so some of the facilities will be the same. So that's probably the closest ones you can do. Alternatively, you can always look for, you can sign up for regular tours, and we'll post the link on the chat in a second. So you can, and these ones again will sort of run throughout now all the way to next September. So you can just basically find a time and day that sort of works out for you, and drop by and take a look at some of the buildings inside the campus and facilities and things like that. One note to that though, we don't always go into every single lab or facility on campus, just because obviously the students are working in there, or they're taking classes or doing the research. So there might be a few places that are maybe a little more like the overview, rather than going to every single classroom or lab. Again, just keep that in mind when you're looking at the tours, just because they give you more an overall view of the campus. So hopefully that helps you. And again, we'll post the link in a sec here.
Okay, so Anna has a question, say, do students usually work during the semesters? Does the course load allow for that? So I can give you a general sense. So for example, in the fall semester, many of them, coming, full day on Wednesday and Thursday for study for the graduate courses, because there are 4 courses, right, arranged for both days. And usually they work as graduate assistants, in the fall semester, so for the winter semester, most courses are scheduled on Thursday and Friday, and we leave Monday to Wednesday open, because you have to work for the part-time internship, but the internship is paid, right? So that's generally the schedule. I would say it will be challenging to maintain a regular part-time job during these hours, but usually the summer is more flexible, right? Summer, we do have previous students working part-time regularly, because summer you're only working on your research. But for the fall and winter, our recommendation that is mostly focused on the study will, take the opportunities to working as a graduate assistant. Yeah. Okay. Regarding the portfolio, is there a max limit to how long each thesis could be? I would say that, try to aim for each piece, aim for around 5,000 to 6,000 words. Like, don't make it too long. And if it's very short, like let's say if you only submit a 1-page press release, so that could be a little bit challenging. So you have to provide a better contextualization. So one of the suggestions we have given before is that usually what happens is when you're working for a company, you have probably written a bunch of press releases, right? You can combine a couple of press releases together and then adding a cover page explaining, these are samples demonstrating, some of the tasks you have taken at the organization. You can do that. Yeah. So I would say there's the upper limit will be clearly, for example, if you are going to submit, let's say, your honors undergraduate thesis, which is a 40-page document to us, one of the possibility is that you can only you can choose to only submit, let's say, 1 chapter of it instead of the whole document, right? Because the point is you are picking a sample of your written work to demonstrate your analytical thinking, to demonstrate your writing skill. Yeah. What should be the minimum word count for the portfolio? I would say aim for around, let's say, 2,000-ish, right? Because sometimes, if it's just too short, it's harder for us to actually assess. I would say, let's say aim for a regular course paper, right? These days, a regular undergraduate course paper run between 2,000 to 3,000 words, right? So just like taking that as a standard, right? But if you are only, let's say, a few, maybe 100 or 200 words shorter than that, you don't need to be very kind of sweaty, yeah. Okay. Video essays. No, because the problem is the system only allowed to upload PDF. That's one of the things. And also another issue is we tend to assess more traditional format, because one of the challenges, most of the courses you will end up, writing essays. There are still a bunch of courses which will require strong essay writing skills. Yeah.
So that's our program so the website, and then under other questions, you'll see SIBO's contact email, and then the npc@torontomu.ca is the sort of program office main email, and then any admissions questions, things like that, pretty much anything you have, feel free to send it to us, and we'll be happy to help you out and answer any of the questions that maybe you can think of right now, but that's not a problem, anytime.
Yeah, so just generally speaking, like for admission related question, you direct to MPC at the torontomu.ca. Like even you email me, I will just forward to them in many cases, because some of the more kind of specific requirements, for example, regarding transcription, transcript, right? So they have more kind of clear thoughts than me. But if you just want to ask more academic questions, for example, about the course, about the general sense, about the program, feel free to send it to me. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for coming by. Thank you for taking the time and obviously speaking with us. And hopefully we answer most of your questions. If anything else comes up, please feel free to reach out anytime, and we'll be happy to help out. So again, thank you very much, and everybody have a great night.
Yeah. Have a good night, everybody.